Abs 2014. This is paper 1, question 13, and this is a question on trigonometry. So in this year, a trigonometry question actually appeared kind of on paper 1. So it is using algebra skills also. So we're given a question and it says, use the diagram on the right to calculate the value of x and then give your answer in cert form. So this is a right angle triangle. We have two sides and the only options we have available when we have triangles is we can use Pythagoras, which just deals with sides, or we can use sin, cos and tan. So the best thing to do in this case, I would say, would be to use Pythagoras. So in Pythagoras' theorem, it says that say if we have a right angle triangle here, so the hypotenuse, let's just call it C, the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse, whatever that is squared, is equal to the sum of the square of the other two sides. So in this case, x is the hypotenuse, so x squared is equal to 3 squared plus 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9, so x squared is equal to 9 plus 9, so x squared is equal to 18. So if I want to get x by itself, I'm going to have to get the square root of both sides. So if I work out the square root of 18 on my calculator, I'll get 3 root 2. But I could say, I can break the square, how my calculator got that is I can say the square root of 18, I can write that as actually a square number. So square root of 9 by the square root of 2. But I can work out the square root of 9, which is 3. So it's 3 multiplied by root 2. So my answer for x is equal to 3 root 2. And then the next part 2, is use the diagram below to calculate the value of y. So I'm given 3, 1, y. So in this case, y is not the hypotenuse, so it's going to be 3 squared is equal to 1 squared plus y squared. So 9 is equal to 1 plus y squared. So I want to get y squared by itself, so then I can take the square root of both sides. So 9 take 1 is equal to y squared. So 8 is equal to y squared. So if I want to get what y is by itself, I'll get the square root of both sides, so y is equal to the square root of 8. But if I plug the square root of 8 into my calculator, I'll get 2 root 2. But how did they get that? Well, we can split the square root of 8 into square root of 4 by the square root of 2. And the reason we pick these two numbers is because 4 is actually a squared number, and we can work out the square root of 4, which is 2, and then it'll be 2 root 2. So that's what y is. And then the next part brings both of these in together. So I'm just going to draw out the rectangle that they give us. So x, and then this is y here. So a rectangle with sides of lengths x and y. So I'm just going to we already figured out that x is 3 over 2 and then y is, 3 root 2 and y is 2 root 2. So there it says a rectangle with sides of length x and y is drawn using the values of x and y from the parts above. So they're using the same values that we got. Write the perimeter of this rectangle in the form a root 2. So y is 2 root 2, x is 3 root 2. So the perimeter, we could say it's going to be 2 root 2 plus 3. So if that's 3 root 2, then this will be 3 root 2 and this will be 2 root 2 because they're opposite. So the perimeter is going to be, say, 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2 plus 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2. And in this case, we can plug this into our calculator, so I'll just show what happens if we plug it. So it'll be 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2 plus 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2. And then we get 10 root 2. But what we can actually do if we wanted to do it out ourselves is we can treat this root 2 as kind of like an x or a y. So it'll be 2 plus 3, which is 5, plus 2, which is 7, plus 3, which is 10. So 10 root 2. Or we could have said, well, there's two widths, so we have to multiply the width by 2 because there's 2 of them. So 2 root 2 multiplied by 2 plus the length, which is 3 root 2, and then multiplied by 2. So if we multiply 2, so we're kind of treating the root 2 as an x kind of for now. So 2 by 2 is 4, so that'll be 4 root 2, and 3 by 2 is 6, so that'll be 6 root 2. So 4 root 2 plus 6 root 2 gives us 10 root 2. So we get the same answer both ways. So that is our answer for that question.